the regular board meeting for the Harrison County Board of Education for Thursday, November 7th, 2024. This time, let's stand to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get into our special recognitions and presentations, I would like to say a couple things first. We have a music teacher, Mr. Broadwater, who is not is in the hospital right now. We would like to extend our prayers and our support to his family at this point in time. Secondly, I would like to thank everyone in Harrison County that voted for the levy. I think that this is a very strong show of support for education in Harrison County, and I think that it's worth recognizing the levy committee and everyone involved in the promotion of the levy. So at our next meeting, I think we will bring the levy committee in to do a recognition for them. Okay. All right, thank you. Now we can go to special recognitions and presentations. At this time, we have Dr. Kelly Nelson, and he's here to give us money.
So tonight is a night to celebrate. Tonight's a night for this board to celebrate. Tonight's a night for this community to celebrate. The easiest one is, you used to meet on Tuesdays. It's Thursday. It's that much closer to the weekend, so celebrate. Second point is, you beat me to the thunder. 75% of people voted for the levy. That shows you that this community gets it, supports the mission, supports the future, supports those children. The third thing we're going to celebrate is Member of Children's Charities back. That also tells you something. It tells you the community gets it. Without the community, there's no charity, there's no money, there's no doing what we do with the money. Usually I'd run in, spend 30 seconds telling me I'm here and I'll be back, and I'm out. This year, you're not that lucky. I couldn't do what I do without my board, and a good chunk of my board is here. If you'd stand up, please get recognized. I've told you for years, I might be the voice of, I might be the face of the charity. This is the brains of the charity. This is who directs the charity and does what we do. So these people need a big round of applause. This is our 25th year of being back here. And at some level, we're ultra successful and crazy successful. And at some level, we're unknown and people don't understand what we've done and what we do with this money. So I took it upon myself to have Mr. Kirby, some school nurses, and physical therapists. And I'm asking them to take a few minutes talking to you and telling you exactly what they do with this money and what kind of kids it serves in our own community.
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. I'm in charge of the CAPS Fund, which is the Children's Apparel Program. When it closed, probably upwards of 200 to 300 kids every school year. We take a needs assessment of kids, what clothing they need, and we have a group of folks in the schools that volunteer, they're shopping for them. They do great work. They're able to get the correct sizes and get it all filled for those kids. We do a lot around Christmas time because that's kind of the change of the season. Try to get winter clothes for them, try to get summer clothes for them in the spring. We try to take care of any of the specialty clothes that they need, such as if they need something for school, for gym class or something like that, we try to take care of that. It's just a great program, and it's amazing how many kids we clothe so that they feel like their peers. They feel normal, they come to school looking like the rest of the people that they're in class with. It makes them feel wanted and cared for. So we're very appreciative of what they've done. Nurses, you want to come on up?
Jody Sperry, coordinator of student health, is not with us tonight. She had some other obligations, but we wanted to take a couple minutes and just on behalf of the students to thank Dr. Nelson and Member of Children's Charities for all the support that they've given for the health needs of the students in this county. I've been in the county for 21 years, and I have never not known the generosity from the Children's Charity Fund. So I've been able to buy glasses, have children have dental care, dental extractions, help with medications. We've helped in extenuating circumstances with children. And one thing that really kind of hits home to us is we have the opportunity every year to go to the state school nurse conference. And we sit at those conferences and hear other nurses talking about how to raise money, find funding for the medical needs in their counties. And that's something that we never have to worry about because we know that Dr. Nelson has given us this money for these purposes, for these health needs for these children. So it's quite a blessing. So we thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm Susan Miller, I'm the Supervisor of Pupil Services, and I have Stephanie Richards here with me. She is our lead therapist. So last year Dr. Nelson was gracious enough to help us with an adaptive therapy fund, adaptive equipment. So we've been able to purchase adaptive strollers, adaptive bikes, and some communication iPads with apps for students for their home use. So it's there solely to have at home and to be able to use. So we appreciate that. We started that last year and we're continuing forward, and that was very generous. Thank you so much.
You want to talk about families and transition?
Sure. So the next step in this is it's new for this past school year. We did an extra pot of money for families in transition. Families that are not quite housed yet, they may be homeless at that time, and they're trying to get housed. We offered first and last month's rent, and we also offered some utility payments last year out of a grant that Medbrook Children's Charities gave us. It looks like they're going to do that again this year, and that actually put a roof over probably in excess of 25 families and kept the heat on for them, kept the lights on for them, whatever their situation might have been. It was something that's needed, something that's drastically needed in this community. And they were gracious enough to provide us enough money to do that. So that was very much appreciated as well. Thank you.
So we're the vessel through which all that pours. Really, I've said it time and time again for 25 years. The community has embraced this. The community understands what we're doing. The community shows up and gives away a lot of money. Because of that, I'm here tonight to present $50,000 worth of money. $10,000 to the Children's Apparel Program, $10,000 to the School Nurses Discretionary Fund, $15,000 to Families in Transition, and another $15,000 to PT Adaptive Equipment. That $50,000 I'm going to give you this year takes our total giving to these programs to $1 million. And more importantly, takes the giving that this charity has done in this community in our first 25 years to $2 million, which is an outrageous compliment to this community. So I said it 25 years ago when I strode in, we'll be back. I'm getting in tonight by saying, here's $50,000, we'll be back.
Can we just drop the mic and say the meeting's over? Right? How do you top that? We can't even begin to say enough.
No, thank you so much for everything that you do. We appreciate every bit of it.
Thank you.
Thank you for the board coming in as well.
All right. This takes us down to our next special recognition presentation, Seal of Biliteracy.
Hey, that's a hard act to follow. I don't have any money to give.
But I'm Alicia Kidd. I'm a Spanish teacher at Bridgeport High School. And I'm going to start us off by just telling you the journey through which students travel to achieve the West Virginia Seal of Biliteracy. So to earn the seal of biliteracy, the students must prove both their English proficiency and proficiency in another language. In our case, it's Spanish and French. At the end of Spanish 3 or French 3, we offer the students the Avant standards-based measurement of proficiency, otherwise known as the STAMP test. So the STAMP test measures the proficiency in the world language, in our case, Spanish and French. However, there are multiple language options available, including the new edition of the American Sign Language as one of the languages tested. So students take the test on a computer or iPad. It's composed of 4 sections: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Students do not know the questions or the prompts before the test. It's meant to be a snapshot of what the students can do in that moment. And we, however, try to prepare them by practicing weekly on reading, writing, listening, and speaking on a wide variety of topics. So the stamp ranks their proficiency on a scale of 1 to 9. 1 is novice low, 9 is advanced high. In order to obtain the West Virginia Seal of Biliteracy, students have to average a 5, which is intermediate mid proficiency. Of course, once they've obtained that, they still have to show their English proficiency. So normally the students submit to their SAT or ACT scores. On the SAT, they have to have a 470 or higher in English language arts. On the ACT, they have to have a 33 or higher in the combined English reading portions. Once we have those scores, we submit them to the West Virginia State World Language Coordinator, who verifies the scores and then issues a certificate for the West Virginia Seal of Biliteracy, as well as blue and gold cords to wear at graduation.
All right, hi, I am Deanna Garrett, and I teach French at Bridgeport High School. I also teach distance learning French to Lincoln High School and to South Harrison High School. Just to follow up a little bit, I'm going to talk a little bit about what this does for our students once they achieve this seal. So one thing that is new in the state of West Virginia that we were just fortunate enough and thankful enough that we were able to attend the Foreign Language Teacher Conference in Lewisburg, West Virginia. We learned that the West Virginia Higher Education Policy Commission, they have actually made it so the seal is going to be used as a placement test. So the kids no longer have to take a placement test when they go to any West Virginia university. They will be placed at minimum into level 3. Fairmont State is actually placing them a little higher once they've spoken to some of the students. So they're gaining a lot of ground, which is really important because a lot of our students have other passions, but they want to get that minor. So that way they're actually able to get all of the credits that they need. I currently have 2 freshmen that took the seal, and they're at Fairmont, and they started immediately into junior level courses. So they are already on track to get their minor, which is phenomenal. Some other things about biliteracy. So just some basic facts. Biliteracy does lead to higher wages. It increases your native language literacy, and we all know that becoming more proficient in English is also important. It increases employability, and I don't know if you're aware of how many international companies are actually in West Virginia. Have you ever seen the map? This map. It's an incredible map to show all of the international companies in West Virginia. It enhances opportunities for scholarships, for future travel, as one of our young ladies is going to talk about. It improves their interpersonal skills, and we know that that is so important in today's society. Before I go on, I'm going to have Miss Alana Sparks and Liza Holterman. Alana is one of my French students. Liza is one of Senora's Spanish students, and they're going to talk a little bit. Both of them have achieved this honor already, so I'm going to pass it off to them for a second.
Hello everyone, I'm Alana Sparks. I'm a senior at Bridgeport High School. I started my French learning journey as a freshman, and the last class I took was as a sophomore, and that was the semester I passed the assessment. And I want to talk about how passing that assessment and learning for it helped me learn French, because it's not like your average test, like you study 2 nights before, like you have to actually, it's a test of application, and it takes discipline to learn for like long-term knowledge, and it sets the baseline for a lot of things. So it took a lot of discipline on my end to actually get that because it's almost like a simulation of like real life settings. Like I know for the listening portion, it makes it to where it's like you're listening in a noisy environment, and so you have to really apply yourself. And because of that, because I took the time to really learn French in order to pass it, it made traveling a lot easier. I went to Europe last summer, this most recent summer, and it made navigating a lot more easier. Like it was also more fun because I got to talk to the locals, and there's this misconception that French people are mean. They're not mean, they're very nice if you speak French to them. And I knew it made traveling a lot easier. Whenever it comes to flying at the airport, we want that to be as easy as possible because traveling is very stressful when it was my first time. So I remember we went from Philadelphia to Montreal, and that's where they speak French, and they were yelling commands at us in French, and they were smirking if they knew we were American teenagers who had no idea what was going on. But I understood some things that they were saying, so that made a lot of things more easier because they were navigating us where to go. And so speaking on traveling, I'm currently applying for a traveling grant through the Lions Club. They will give me $1,000 to go to France. And so they basically requested a lot of information as to why I should go, like through an essay, through a resume. And on my resume, I talked about how I passed the assessment and how, applying it in my travels really is like helpful for me to learn. And so they're gonna see that and they're gonna be like, oh, well, this girl has an official seal that she knows French. And so for that, like I could win this award. And so if any of you guys are in Lions Club, you should really accept it. France was very fun, so yeah. And so because of that, on resumes, when I apply for work, I want to go into law and I want to do law on an international level. And so whenever in the future I tell them like, hey, I know French and it's official through this assessment, they're going to see that and they're like, oh, she's a good candidate. And so I'm very grateful that I have the Bridgeport High School language program, and I'm very grateful that I got to inform you guys on it. So thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Liza Holterman, and I've taken Spanish 1 through 4 at Bridgeport High School, and I'm currently a senior. But this year I am a TA for Spanish 1, and I feel like that's helped me really go back and relearn Spanish 1 a lot through teaching it through a different lens. Because I felt like Spanish 1 freshman year, I obviously didn't remember a lot, but I felt like I've gone back to that a lot. But I've really enjoyed learning Spanish throughout these 4 years. I feel like it's really opened my eyes culturally, and seeing all these different people and different languages, I feel like it's really made me grateful and just in general a better person. But one of the times I have applied my seal of biliteracy is I did dental shadowing for Dr. Moment. And so he accepts a lot of different insurances, and that's a big thing about him. So he gets a lot more clients that are international, and I felt like understanding them or even doing simple commands like open, I feel like it made their visit so much better, and I feel like that really proves that no matter what career you go into, foreign language can be applied. So I do plan on being a dentist, and I plan on minoring in Spanish, and I feel like that's really going to help me in life further on, because I do want to study abroad. That is a big goal of mine. But also, a little fun thing, I can order my Mexican order in Spanish. Now I no longer say ACP, so I feel like that's a big plus. Thank you.
Thank you to these young ladies. Weren't they so good? I just want to follow up with what they said. The great thing about the seal of biliteracy is that it's a seal of biliteracy. It's not a number. It's not just like I scored a 3 or I got this. It's a meaningful thing where you can actually go to your employer and everybody's on the same level. So the West Virginia seal of biliteracy is modeled after our global seal of biliteracy. So there is a national level, and then the state started adopting it. We got it in 2021 under Ms. Debbie, and we have been increasing it ever since. So since you know a little bit about it, before I let you talk to Ms. Debbie, I'm gonna brag a little bit about our school, if that's okay. So this is weird for me, by the way, because I'm not very good at bragging like this, but I did take notes. So in the last 4 years, there's been 31 seals awarded in French. Of those 31, 14 were from Bridgeport High School. That is not including the current 8 seniors that we have, and then the 6 juniors pending their SAT scores.
Spanish has been rebuilding their program. When we lost the 8th grade credit in Spanish and French 1, we kind of got an influx of students. So Spanish was not able to have level 4, but because of the interest and the amazing work of Senora Kidd and Senora Leatherman, who just had a baby on Tuesday, our Spanish we're now in 2nd year having Spanish 4. So we're increasing there. And this year, there are 24 current seniors that are going to be receiving the seal of biliteracy at Bridgeport High School. So with that said, I'm going to pass it on to Tim.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm sure some of you sat there when I spoke before. My name is Debbie Nicholson, and I was a Spanish teacher at Bridgeport Junior High, if that tells you how long ago, and Bridgeport High School for 28 years. I'd like to say that I had these students, but no, the teachers were there when I was a teacher, so it's been a few years. I also served as the County World Language Coordinator for Harrison County Schools during my time here. In 2011, I accepted a position with the West Virginia Department of Education as the coordinator for world languages and served in that position until September of 2023. They didn't fire me. I decided that it was time to retire. So as the coordinator there, I became very interested in the Seal of Biliteracy. The Seal of Biliteracy was established in 2008 by a group called Californians Together. The purpose of the Seal of Biliteracy originally was to recognize English language learners who could achieve the proficiency in English and in their native language. That focus has definitely changed and has now become more accepting of the students who are studying a second language. In fact, in West Virginia, the majority of all the students who have been recognized with the Seal of Biliteracy are native English speakers who are studying a second language, predominantly Spanish and French, as these two mentioned. At the state level, we began talks about the Seal of Biliteracy in 2017. And then my immediate supervisor left and someone else came in, and then you have to wait until they're ready to deal with your things. So we began a very, very serious conversation in 2019. And the superintendent at that time was very supportive and decided that he wanted to implement it as soon as possible and to see what would happen during a pilot year. When we started talking about it, we met with a lot of different people and we decided what would the Seal of Biliteracy do for students in West Virginia? And what we determined is that, not necessarily at that time in West Virginia, but throughout the country, multiple universities offered language credit to the students who had achieved the Seal of Biliteracy, typically up to 6 hours of credit if they could get the Seal of Biliteracy. We also knew that the study of a foreign language in general prepares students with 21st century skills. And those skills will help benefit them not only in the labor market, but in global society as a whole. The recognition of the seal provides employers a way of identifying people with language and biliteracy skills. One of, I think, the most important ones is that the study of a language creates individuals with a positive disposition to others who are different than they are. And we know things are changing in West Virginia and in Harrison County, but typically our society is, we always called it vanilla. Okay, our students sit in a classroom with 20 other students who are exactly like them, who have been raised in the same community they have, who everybody looks the same. And thank goodness that's changing, because our students do need to realize what's in the world outside of Harrison County, West Virginia. The seal also, of course, validates a student accomplishment, which I think that we're always hoping to let students know that they've done a great job, and this certainly does it. So in our typical wealth of information, we started the pilot program during the 2021 school year, which was not exactly the best time after COVID, but it gave us the opportunity to try it, work out bugs. So the first year we awarded 27 students with 31 seals of biliteracy. So there were 4 students in that group who received the seal in 2 languages other than English. So that was pretty impressive. Of course, they were native speakers of another language, but they were also learning the second foreign language as well as English. After that first year, Harrison County jumped in quickly. And Bridgeport High School had a total, and Dee, I apologize if my numbers aren't correct, but Bridgeport High School had a total of 7 students that year.
That's right.
Okay, and then in 2022-23, there were 13 from Harrison County that were recognized. 12 students from Bridgeport High School, 1 student from South Harrison High School. In 2023-24, there were 7 students from Bridgeport High School recognized. And that was because of the,
That was because of the delay of the
Spanish
SAT
program.
results too.
okay, yes, because that also comes to play depending on when the deadline is for application. But overall, Harrison County Schools is one of only 20 county school systems who are applying for the seal of biliteracy. And to my knowledge, it's only the 2 schools in Harrison County that have been represented, Bridgeport High School and South Harrison High School. Throughout the state, there are 27 schools that have applied for the seal of biliteracy, and 2 of those are the ones in Harrison County. So my hope is that other high schools in the county will jump on that bandwagon and that their students will be able to study world language long enough in order to achieve the seal of biliteracy, which will benefit them in the labor force and in the global work, and in the global society as a whole. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? How many students in Harrison County do we currently have applying, that have applied? Did you mention that already for the seal of biliteracy?
Well, last year they changed the deadlines a little bit, so we've kind of got a hangover from last year. So that's why they're kind of weird. Like she has 4 current seniors, or 5 maybe, who've already applied and got it, but 19 or 20 that she's putting in right now. So they'll be listed as this school year, even though they passed last year. Numbers are increasing. I can tell you kids love it. Like they want that recognition. And you can see that they're using it.
And you should know when they get to the university, continue their studies, they can bump up to the global seal. They can build on the one they got in the high school level and build up.
I can tell you it's really exciting right now for languages, especially all of these things that have happened in our state at WVU last year. Like this gives us some hope. It gives our kids some fire. It's let us talk to the universities to kind of say, how can we work together? If we are implementing this in Harrison County and we are really pushing this, let's find, where are we going to place them? Are we going to give back credit? Fairmont State, you can apply for back credit. So you can actually get 12 hours of credit. I think she said it was $50 for 3 hours. And if I am misquoting that, I'm sorry.
It's $150 for 3 hours.
Okay.
It's $50 an hour.
50 an hour,
But they
but they can back credit, which
those credits.
is a lot of credits.
Yeah.
Pretty cheap.
It's very cheap.
And they just transcript this.
They transcript the credits, yeah.
Because they've earned it through the seal of biliteracy, they have those skills.
I don't know why I hopped up here to answer questions.
But also, the Higher Education Policy Commission of West Virginia just recently recognized the seal of biliteracy for students in West Virginia. So they may be awarded those 6 hours of graduate credit as well as not taking the placement test.
Right, as of right now, they do not have to take the placement test. And I can tell you that from a language teacher perspective, the placement test is a very multiple choice, what do you not know?
Yeah.
This is a proficiency test. Our kids have to speak 3 different 4-minute sessions. They have to write 3 essays to achieve this in another language. It's a pretty big deal. So we are still, and this, because the higher ed policy just went through, we're still working with the universities and making contact, kind of going grassroots to figure out how we can best fill those needs, because it's all still new, right? I mean.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thanks.
Thank you for coming to present.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Our next presentation is John Feeney and Phil Bradley. Oh.
Like Mark,
Yeah, yeah.
so when they come, they can do it.
Kind of like a recommendation.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yes.
This is my first school board meeting. I've heard horror stories about what goes on. This is kind of fun. Oh, it's a bunch of good dudes, everything. Yeah, I can see why you all want to do this. I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to be here this evening, and I will be respectful of your time, but I've got to warn you, I'm Irish, so I like to talk, and I'm also very passionate about this topic. Kind of following on the theme of Dr. Nelson, we want to spend a little bit of time this evening talking about health. And when we talk about health, we talk about total health, and then it's physical, it's mental, and it's financial. And you're going to see there are stresses that are going on in the world today that are affecting all three of those, right? And we've got a program that we want to talk to you about. It doesn't cure all ills, but I think when you hear at the end of this what this program can do not only for your employees, but for your school system itself, you understand why we got so passionate about it. The first thing I'd like to do is tell you just a little bit about who we are. As I said, I'm Phil Wiley. I'm with Bearing Advisors. Bearing Advisors is a group of 6 senior partners. And we've been collectively working in the local government market space for over 240 years, which don't do the math. All it does is age us. And the question really is, why, when all of us could be retired and running around on beaches somewhere, are we doing what we're doing? And it's a group of people that have worked together. We have a lot of mutual respect for each other. We enjoy working with each other, and we formed the business originally because of all the work we had done with private industry working in local government, that we were going to build a little boutique advisory business so that we could help those businesses bridge the gap between their products that they were presenting in the local government market space. And we were actually having a lot of fun doing that. We represented some pretty cool companies like Axon. I don't know if you're familiar with Axon, but you've probably heard of tasers, and they're the ones that created the taser. And we've worked with a company called Breed Drones, which is really cool because they're building drones as first responders, and it's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. This program, we stumbled into this program, and the deeper we digged into this program, the more revolutionary we saw that it was in the impacts that it could make on employers in general, but especially what we saw for local governments, and particularly here in West Virginia. I'm a West Virginian. I've lived here my whole life. I live, breathe, bleed West Virginia. And so we want what's best. If you look at our party, just to give you a little bit of background, I think you know me, at the first time I met Dora here in this building, it brought back a lot of memories. I started in this building out of college, and it was kind of surreal walking back in here after 40 years. But I started out with CNG and went on from there. The next person, you probably, can you go back? You probably can't, oh, there you can, there you go. You all probably know Jim Hunt from here in Clarksburg. I don't need to tell you anything about Jim, but he hadn't already told you. Mike Condiff, if you know Jim Hunt, with everything that he has done in the elected official marketplace, Mike Condiff, who's out of Dallas, Texas, he's done that with the appointed official. He knows about every city manager in the country. He's been on and is still active on the board of directors and still active with the International City Managers Association. There's Brad Carmichael. Brad is a Harrison County native, went to RW, WVU grad. Brad was on my staff at CNG, and we have known each other since my first day at CNG, and we've been partners for over 25 years. And then Kathy Spain down in the end, Kathy was a senior executive with the National League of Cities. And then Mike, the last on my list here is Mike Madden, who was with the Florida Municipal League in charge of their insurance division. It's just a lot of group of people that know commercial markets, that know the local government market space. We have a fundamental understanding of how local government works and what their needs are. So what we're here to talk to you about tonight is the Prevent Protect program that's been developed. And what has driven this, if you look in the marketplace, I think it affects West Virginia in so many different ways. It's a general problem. We're seeing financial strain everywhere. I mean, you all feel it, particularly here in West Virginia, but it's felt. Inflation has outpaced wages significantly over the last 3 or 4 years. It's not slowing down. Organizations around the state are having a heck of a time attracting and training talent. There are more job openings than there are folks in West Virginia. Available for jobs in West Virginia. Healthcare costs. PDIA, I don't think I have to say anything more than that. There is a decline in mental health. This is inextricably linked. When you think about, we've seen it, not only mental health, but physical health. You're going to hear in just a minute a couple interesting statistics that are actually kind of scary about chronic diseases, right? Chronic diseases, a lot of that is started because of stress. Your body gets run down on it. Mental disease because of stress, right? Stress at the job, financial stress. So they just keep, it becomes a revolving door. And then, unfortunately, there is a high rate of suicide. One of the statistics I'm going to quote for you a little bit later, you'll see on some slide in here. In the United States, there's a suicide committed every 40 seconds. So in the time your meeting's been over here tonight, there are going to be dozens of suicides committed in the United States. It is an epidemic at this point. Here's the scary statistics. 7 in 10 deaths are going to be due to chronic physical or mental disease in the country this year. Nationally, 4 in 10 people have 2 or more chronic diseases. But in West Virginia, it's 3 in 10. 3 or more, 40% have 3 or more. We know PEIA is out there. Most employers have major medical programs. They call them health programs, but they're not. They're sickness programs. They come into play when you're sick. They don't do anything really for health. And what we want to focus on is preventative care. And importantly, when we talk about preventative care, we're going to talk to you in a way that is going to be, everybody worries about cost, right? We've talked about health costs. We know how expensive it is. This is the most impactful part of the program. Everything I'm going to talk to you about tonight, all the benefits that we're going to inure to your employees, and there are many benefits that are going to inure to your employees, it will have 0 impact on their paycheck. You will get these benefits, and there are many, and I'm anxious to tell you what they are. 0 impact on their paycheck. In fact, the way we have structured the program, it will actually increase their paycheck. And I'm going to tell you how that's going to work in a minute. And then the other aspect of it is, this is a voluntary program. This is a voluntary program for employees under Section 125 cafeteria. For every employee that enrolls, because of the taxability nature of this program, the school board will see about $600 a year in FICA tax savings. So in the other important statistic I want to share with you about this program, where this has been introduced elsewhere, in our experience, we're seeing 85 to 90% of the employees that's been presented to sign up for the program. So, I'm not good at math on my feet. You've got over 1,000 employees, so let's do 1,000 because 1,000 is really easy for me to do the math. At $600, but if 90% of them, you're going to get over $500,000 a year in payroll tax savings by implementing this program. Some of the things that I've talked to you about relative to sickness, and those type of things, and how it relates to West Virginia, especially when we talk about financial. I don't think this comes as a big surprise, but it's incredibly disappointing. West Virginia ranks 50th in overall health. 38% of the adults in West Virginia have anxiety or depression. National ranking in average teacher salary is 51st. It used to be, I think at some time it was used to be 49, and we always talked about, thank God for Mississippi. But they have successfully passed this at this point. I think Puerto Rico has did it. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge for you all as an employer when you look where West Virginia ranks in teacher pay, when you're trying to attract teachers and employees into your school systems. It's a challenge. Affordability is a barrier. We've talked about this. Medical costs, I don't know if you know this, but medical costs are the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States today. 24% of recommended medical treatments are skipped due to cost. That's only exacerbating the problem associated with chronic illness. It's not getting any better, it's only getting worse. And 41% of adults have insufficient life insurance due to cost. In today's economy, where people are living hand to mouth, they're not planning for long-term futures, right? They don't know how, if something happens to one of their family members, they don't know how they're going to pay for it because most of them don't have life insurance. Now, most employers, when we go in and talk about this program, and I'm absolutely certain that you are no exception to this rule, is you have a plethora of types of benefits that you're offering employees. They're good benefits, they're important benefits, and they do add up. The program that we're offering tonight is not trying to compete with that. It's a bolt-on to it. It's an addition to it. It amplifies what we're providing you today and brings you the affordability for the incremental benefits that so many employees need. Affordability, even with the benefits that you are providing, and we'll talk about major medical here, affordability is still a barrier. In 2024, the average health plan deductibles were almost $2,000 for a single person and almost $4,000 for a married couple. Yet 44% of Americans can't afford an unexpected expense of $1,000. I suspect that number is much higher in West Virginia. Those two statistics don't match up particularly well, which leads us back to why we're seeing so much bankruptcy associated with medical treatment. So what we're talking about is a preventative care management program, better known in most places perhaps as a wellness plan. I don't know about PEIA, and particularly I think they may have a component. I know with a lot of other medical plans, they have EAP programs and other types of add-on products for their major medical plans, usually at a little bit higher premium. They'll provide health screenings, exercise and nutrition, their activity challenges, and some discounts. They're basically offering up things that require you to do something that most people don't want to do, and it has been proven year after year that they won't do it. And even though you're getting the discount, you're still asking employees to pay something, which again is something that they don't want to do and typically can't afford. So what do you end up with? You end up with poor participation. On mental, we don't know particularly the outcomes. In typical EAP programs, you'll get some level of, you call the EAP program up and they'll set you up with up to 6 visits at no cost at one of the therapists that are in their program. Well, a couple interesting little things about that type of a program. In EAP programs like that, the remuneration that they offer up for their therapists is pretty low. And so they end up with low participation, and the participation in therapists that they get in those programs are usually people that are just starting out of college and trying to build a practice. And so what you find is we don't know the outcomes, but we know and you'll see a little bit later with typical EAP programs, those therapists, it's not very successful. So how does our program work? There's a personal benefits allotment through the tax advantage nature of the program. Over the years, the federal government has created a number of tax incentives in order to make healthcare more affordable. The 125 cafeteria plans that you can pre-tax, the pre-taxing of major medical premiums. There are regulations in the Internal Revenue Code related to after-tax reimbursements. In the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act was put in place, and this is where the Prevent and Protect program that we're talking about was born out of. Put in place in what is called a participatory wellness program that got away from the idea that you get rewarded because you lost weight, you stopped smoking, those type of things which people just weren't doing, but more that you access things and you took steps to try to improve your health. And we'll talk just real briefly about that in just a minute. Typically what happens when we calculate an allotment for one of your employees through this program, we'll see somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 to $220 available funds to be spent on supplemental products. So you've got the wellness program that's already baked into it, and then you'll have the opportunity for the employee to spend these dollars on things like one of the products that isn't listed that is Universal Life. So which is critically needed product, disability, accident, critical care. But because this is through the tax savings of that the program generates, while the out-of-pocket, there's no out-of-pocket cost, they'll pay the in this example, $218.15 premium, but it's out of tax savings and their net paycheck doesn't change. But importantly, one of the aspects of the program that has been put in place, particularly here in West Virginia with our program, is that up to 20% of the tax allotment that's available to the employee can be applied to their contribution to their major medical health plan, in this case PEIA. So for example, if an employee had a $200 monthly allotment to spend, 20% of that, or $40, could be applied to their major medical premium, which in effect would increase their paycheck by $40. So by implementing a program like this, they will have access to the wellness program, which really addresses, and with demonstrable success, critical illness in terms of not only lifestyle changes to not only prevent, but also how to treat. They'll have that, they'll get their allotment for their supplemental insurance, they'll put a portion of it towards their PEIA, so they'll have no out-of-pocket costs for the wellness and the insurance, and they'll increase their paycheck by 20% of their allotment. Oh, and by the way, for each one of them enrolled, you will get about $600 a year in FICA savings. So there is the financial aspect of it, there's the physical health aspect of it, and there's the financial for both employee and the employer. How do those programs work? This is particularly for the employer, right? So if you take a look at there's about $1,080 annual in FICA savings. There's a $40 a month fee for the program that the employer pays, $480. That'll take you down to get you about to the $600. There's also a mental health add-on I'm going to speak about briefly, Allied Connect, that you can purchase that costs $180 per year per employee. It comes out of the employer funds if you choose to do that program. So just to tell you a little bit, the wellness program that we talked about is the foundational piece. It's called the Attentive Preventative Care Management Program. It is AI powered and it is personalized for lifestyle guidance, and it's provided by Mayo Clinic. And it's basically you go in and as the employee would fill out a health assessment, the system will understand at that point not only what chronic illnesses may be present, but also what lifestyle changes need to be made to prevent others. It does vital stats monitoring. It has a telemedicine aspect of it, 24/7, 365 with no copay. There are full EAP programs baked into it. Also counseling for relationships, and there's an addiction recovery support. And as I mentioned, we're seeing about an 85% average opt-in rate during enrollment. We talked about mental health. There is a mental health component associated with this program. The founder of this, Colleen Hilton, is a clinical therapist, and she has built this platform in order to bring the right therapist at the right time when mental health is required. And she'll tell you that's the key to success. If you don't have the right therapist, you're not likely to go back. If you don't go back, you're not going to get treated. One of the examples she uses, there was two really great examples, is one, she'll tell you she's terrible with addiction. She just is terrible. She doesn't treat people for addiction. She says, if somebody walks into me and says, I have a drinking problem, her solution is quit drinking. That's not the right answer for trying to treat somebody. The other is the example she gives, she's 40 years old, married, and has 3 kids. She's not looking for a 25-year-old therapist that's never been married and doesn't have any children. They cannot relate to the situation she's in. It's the right therapist at the right time. Part of what her platform brings to the table is that these have been screened, these are top-of-the-line therapists, is timing. It can be difficult, very difficult, to get a good therapist in any relatively short period of time. Her platform provides for 48-hour turnaround. She can demonstrate she does a much better job of this than I ever could. 16 times more utilization than the traditional EAP program, and there's 2.5 times more effective and successful access to care, meaning there's follow-up visits. So the difference between the program, what you're doing today with typical EAP, typical 125 cafeteria plans, is the difference between accessibility. Offering an employee a 125 plan where they're paying out of pocket for their supplemental insurance is providing access to it. Most don't participate. You may see 20 to 25% participate because they can't afford it. This program brings the affordability and drives that up to the 85%. We're getting the funding for wellness. You threw me there. You threw me off course. We're funding for wellness, and we're also bringing financial security to your employees. Just to give a couple quick examples, I warned you first, I'm Irish and I like to talk, and I am trying to be judicious with your time. But I did warn you too, I'm kind of passionate about this. We were in a small city in West Virginia and walked in, and the city manager, first thing he told me, he was a little disheveled and running around, and then first thing he said, I'm sorry, we just had an employee die yesterday, he had no life insurance, and we're trying to figure out how to raise the money for his funeral. And I'd like to tell you that that's probably not typical, but I fear it generally is. If something like that happens, people just don't know where the money's coming from, right? We had another example where our program was sold into a city in Texas. And law enforcement officer in Texas had signed up for part of his supplemental coverage as accident coverage. And as it worked out, he was doing training, off work training for his job as a first responder, and he got injured. And of course, workers' comp didn't pay because it wasn't a job-related injury. But because he had that surgery, because he had our program or the in place, he was off work for 2 months, and he would collect full pay for those 2 months through the program. It's those type of benefits that can make a big difference in people's lives when they need it the most. And so, just real quick, we're right at the end. You want to go to the next slide. So one of the things I'm going to talk to you about the reasons you would think about, you probably should do this, But what I would tell you is based on the fact that this is a no out-of-pocket cost for your employees, they get so many benefits, including these supplemental insurance products that will protect them financially. And you all are going to see significant financial savings yourselves. The real question I would ask is, why wouldn't you do this? But nevertheless, individual power, I've just talked about individual buying power dwindling. We see medical costs continuing to rise. We can help with that through the allocation to the employee for the PEIA premiums. 61% say benefits increase job satisfaction. And I think I already shared with you the sad fact that suicide is committed every 40 seconds. So it's real simple. To implement this, the employees will be offered the program. If you elect to participate in this program, your employees will be offered the opportunity, again, it's completely voluntary, to opt into the program. Their tax savings as a result of participating, they'll be able to use on the supplemental insurance products, pay towards their PEIA, and then you guys will get your money. And it starts immediately. You start seeing the tax savings. The employees start seeing the benefits immediately, and you all start seeing your tax savings immediately. So, last page. I am Phil Riley. That's John Matheny. If you have any questions, just give us a shout, and we really hope you'll seriously consider this program. We think it's transformational in the employee benefits space. So thank you very much for your time. We greatly appreciate it. I'm sorry I droned on for so long.
Just real quick, how many counties do you guys work in West Virginia? How many schools?
I heard the speaker back. I got lost there for a second. So we are working, just so you know, we're working across the state of West Virginia. As you might see on the front, we are endorsed by the West Virginia Municipal League, and so we work closely with them for municipalities across the state. We have been invited and joined as part of the Business Leaders Network in the state of Pennsylvania. We're operating there. We just got invited by the state of Maryland to join their Community Partners Program, and we'll be working with them. We're active in the state of Texas, active in Alabama, and active in Illinois. Just last look, this program has been in existence, Attentive Preventative Care Management Program has been in existence since 2017. They operate in all 50 states. Interestingly enough, it's been primarily focused on the private sector. We are actually the first organization that has started working with them to bring it into the local government market space.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
I think if the superintendent would put that on a future agenda so that we can maybe, as a group, discuss it, determine if that's something we'd be interested in.
Zero impact there seems to be like.
All right, this brings us down to delegations. Mr. Munro, nice to see you.
Yes, sir.
You have 5 minutes. And start when you're ready.
Thank you for allowing me to speak with you this evening. My name is Mark McMillian. As a retired lieutenant colonel of 22 years in active duty, I'm accustomed to hearing people thank me for my service. Tonight, I'd like to thank you for your service. Serving on the Board of Education is a sometimes thankless job, but one incredibly important to our community and our future, so thank you. For the past 11 years, I've designed, developed, and delivered leadership training for companies, nonprofits, and individuals across West Virginia, but also in Pennsylvania, Virginia, Ohio, Texas, and Washington, D.C. I understand the challenges of leadership at multiple levels, and I clearly understand the enormous difficulties of changing culture. In fact, I've written a book about it. I'm here to talk about the integration of RCB and Liberty. There are certain points in time when our actions have a greater than normal impact, and this is one of those now. I'll be quite blunt. The atmosphere and culture at Robert C. Byrd High School is not healthy. In fact, it's detrimental to our students' well-being. This impacts all parts of the school, including classes, sports, and other extracurricular programs. We have changed administrators, teachers, and coaches but the problems are still the same. Organizational culture does not change by replacing a single individual. Changing culture requires energy, effort, and leadership. These are not present with the currently assigned personnel. I've been part of the RCB ecosystem since 2013 and provide hundreds of volunteer hours across many different activities. There are bright spots and a few people doing exceptional work. For instance, we've had teacher initiatives spring from RCB and adopted statewide. Unfortunately, these efforts are the exception, not the rule. Sadly, we have some teachers who feel they are simply babysitters. They write assignments on the board and tell the kids to do it, providing little or no additional guidance or instruction. I've been to the administration repeatedly about coaches demonstrating bad sportsmanship, poor self-control, bad language, and tolerating the same from their players. I've spoken to the administrators about teachers simply not teaching. The result was the same, little or no action and zero change. There are no mirrors in the bathrooms at RCB. Why? Because students were using them for early warning of approaching teachers. There are no soap dispensers in the bathrooms because students were ripping them down and throwing them in the toilet. So they were taken down. These are not solutions, they're Band-Aids used to treat cancer. In 2023, RCB sent 5 young men to Boise State. Bridgeport High School sent 29. In 2024, RCB sent 2 young men to Boise State. Bridgeport sent 22. In 2023, RCB sent 1 student to the Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership Program. That 1 student was selected out of 130 to represent West Virginia at the World Leadership Congress in Chicago. In 2024, he was trying to support and grow the program, and the administration told him there was no money for it this year. It costs about $400. There are numerous organizations and companies willing to support RCB students in pursuit of excellence. I'm a member of one and know several others. This year, companies have opened their checkbooks to support the school in a way not seen in years. Why? Because the boosters and other outsiders ask, not the school, but outsiders desperately wanting to help. RCB has first-class facilities. It's the best building in the county, the best football field, the best track, the best stadium, the best gym. However, these do not translate to a school of excellence. There is little pride, little or no discipline, and no esprit de corps. Money does not, it cannot buy excellence. Excellence comes from people and their efforts. Excellence cannot be just this teacher or that coach. It must be the collective, not the individual. From my leadership experience since I was a cadet at West Point, through my years in the Army across 3 continents, and over the past decade of working with civilian organizations, I know this is a difficult problem. Nothing worthwhile is easy. Right now, RCB is not a place for students to thrive. The community deserves better, and the students deserve better. I propose every position in the merged school be open to application from both internal and external applicants with no favoritism. From the administration to the counselors to the teachers to the janitors, we need a reset. Thank you.
All right, at this point in time, if there are no objections, I'd like to take our legal matters and move them forward before our superintendent's update. An objection? Okay, so at this point, is there a motion to go into executive session? Legal?
Hold on. I move pursuant to 6-9A 412 of the West Virginia Code, the board moves to executive session to discuss any legal matter which, by express provision of federal law or state statute, or the report is rendering confidential, or which is not considered a public record within the meaning of the Freedom of Information Act, as set forth in Article 1, 29B-11, Chapter 29B of this code.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll be in executive session. there a motion to return?
Motion. Second.
Third? What? Who said third?
Wasn't me.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries back in regular session. Brings us to superintendent's update. All right. Well, no, we pulled legal up so that Susan could leave.
But I thought you just said you was gonna go back.
Well, in our, well, I mean, if you want to go back in now, I mean, if there's no objection, then you want to go back into personnel now.
Get it
It's
out.
personnel,
They do. All right.
personnel matter. Okay, that's all right, that's all right, that's all right. All right, let's go, if you want to go back into personnel now, if there's no objection, somebody make a motion for,
I move
Personnel.
pursuant to 6-9A42 of West Virginia Code that the board go into executive session to discuss personnel and personnel matters which, if discussed in public, might affect adversely the reputation of any person.
is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? To return from executive session.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Back in executive session. All right, superintendent's update.
Sure. Do you have a facilities update, Mr. Lucas? Anything pressing?
Not really anything pressing unless you'd like me to press.
We've all been pressed. That's really all I have, other than on your agenda. If you look, we'd like to do a calendar hearing. You should have draft calendars. Met with a group last Wednesday, so that's the draft calendars that they received. So we thought you could look at those, and then on the 19th at 5:30, we'd like to have a calendar meeting before the original meeting. And then on December the 3rd is when we're bringing our retirees in. Did you see that? So we'll see. How many did we send out? 50-some invitations? So hopefully we'll get a few into that.
I asked one question real quick, if we may do a facility. What's the status on the bridge on Simpson getting into the park?
We just, they just came to us with a proposal to build a road off of Center Street, so, able to do it within the contract. There's some contingency money there. So they have a plan, and Dora just said, go ahead, and so we should be seeing that road built this week.
It'll come through as a change order,
Yeah.
so you guys can see it
Okay,
and what it is.
I just know that they're doing a heck of a job now. And they're really getting after it. And they would like to get to Simpson pretty quick, get started.
We've got great money for that. That's all I have.
All right, sounds good, thank you. Brings us down to consent items. Is there a motion to approve consent items?
I move that we approve consent items.
Is there a second?
Second,
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. New business, bus driver promissory note. Is there a motion to approve the payment of the substitute bus operator reimbursement, $200 for one-time fees?
and 13.
$1,300 as a program incentive for completing the required 52 hours of mandatory substitute bus operator training.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
My only question on that, I noticed when I was reading it, it's only for 6 months. In other words, if they stay 6 months
They have to stay employed for 6 months.
as a regular employee or just?
Well, as a substitute, and they can't miss more than 3 days call-outs. So, and usually if you get what we've seen is if they can stay for 6 months, they're almost, now they're really, they've got skin in the game, and they're seniority, and they're really close to getting a full-time job. And it tends to help retain them. And retention, that's the biggest attraction.
Okay, I just thought maybe it ought to be a year, you know. That's $1,500. That's fine.
Are we kind of leading that in state? Did we kind of start that? If I remember right, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we were one of the first in the state, and then all the other counties are doing it.
Yeah, so.
Some sort of, may not be exactly like that, but it's very simple.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Out-of-state professional leave request and out-of-state travel study request. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us down to personnel items. Is there a motion to approve personnel agenda as recommended by the superintendent?
I so move.
Is there a second? Second. All those in, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Legal matters. We have already done our legal matters. Brings us down to board member comments. Mr. Tucker.
Just thank the individuals that came this evening and presented, and for Dr. Nelson, and obviously his donation and what it does for our students and how it's being used.
I'd like to thank all the public that went out to the polls and voted, whether they voted for the levy or against the levy. I just appreciate them all going out and speaking, to us with their vote. I'm very happy that the levy has passed. It'll be able to continue the things that we've been doing for the last 70 years for our kids, and hopefully, it'll continue further down the road.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the public too, for supporting us and, showing your faith that we're going to be good stewards of your money, and kudos to the team that worked so hard, the committee that worked so hard to get the truth out.
Smith?
Good.
And I'll echo everyone tonight. I do want to also thank Ms. Kynes and Superintendent Steltner and all the staff that did so much preparation, Mr. Alvario, Ms. Mancini, Mr. Lopez, Ms. Knight, everybody that helped with this levy. It is extremely important to know how much I appreciate what you did and how everybody supported this. So thank you very much for all of your support. And everyone in the school system that went out and voted, everyone in the community that went out and voted, thank you. Any further comments? Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
So they're better.